So if I wanted to go straight to the Tithely website to tithe to my church, it's very, very, very simple. I would just go to my search engine for my computer, whether it be Safari, Google Chrome, or anything like that, Internet Explorer. I could. What I would initially do is just go and Google, because that's the easiest thing you can possibly do. Just Google Tithely, right? So I would go to the Google page, google.com, and type in Tithely, T-I-T-H. So it's already right there. At that point, it pops up to a search engine, and the first thing that shows is Tithely.official site. I would go to the second part under that, where there's right under that, there's little subtitles or subscripts where one says give to your church. So I press give to your church. Takes me straight to the Tithely website. Now, again, Tithely wants to immediately get me to log on to the app or download the app. Let's pretend that I don't have the option to download the app, and I want to just give online, just straight to the website. Well, I would press that. It's the third bar over. It says give online. You would press that. Now, I'm sitting inside my church right now, so the nearest church available is my church. But let's pretend I'm sitting at home and I'm on my desktop computer. The nearest church available might not be your home church. So you would simply just click on Find a Church. You can click on that Find a Church on the bottom that's grayed out, and it would just GPS where that nearest church is. Well, let's say that church still isn't popping up. I could manually find a church, and it's going to... I would type in Northwest Park or the full church, and it pops up right there. The first thing, Northwest Park Baptist Church. At which point it takes me to Northwest Park's giving page. Now at that point, I can type in the amount that I want to tithe. Let's say $100. I can tithe to a general fund. I can type to a building fund, a benevolence, food pantry, or any one of our ministries that's listed there. Now, let's say that one of the ministries isn't there that I would like to tithe to. For example, every Christmas season we have the Lottie Moon. Every Easter season we have the Annie Armstrong Easter offering. Well, let's say they're not up there currently because the season just started, and so we don't have it in our giving options yet. Well, I can actually scroll down to the bottom where it says note memo all the way at the bottom, and I can type that in, Lottie Moon. And I would leave it alone. And that way when the treasurer sees that under that memo, they would know that even though it goes into general fund or it's marked as general fund, that there's actually a designation going there. Now, I can also set up my giving to be reoccurring. So let's say I want to set up a recurring giving. I can set up to once a week, every 2 weeks, every month, or the 1st and the 15th. However, I feel comfortable giving. Or I can just set it up to just being a one-time donation. At the same time, or during this process, I would click on whether I want to use my credit card or debit card or my bank checking and routing number, like an online check. And I will add in that payment method. The convenience is that once you add in that payment method, it safely and securely saves that information. Or you can also opt to not do that, but it saves that information. For example, my bank information is saved. But as you can see, when I click the bank information, it's saved. That give option immediately turns green, meaning that I can give now because it's coming from a source. Now, when I give, there's an option for me to cover the fees that are attached to Tithely. The fees are about 3%. So for every $100, it'll be about $3 of fees. Now, if I choose to cover the fees, I would pay an extra 3% of whatever I'm tithing. So in this case, I would pay $3. So when I went to give, let's say like I covered the fees, and I typed that in. Actually, it was 101, 101.31. So it's 1%, of about 1% of what I'm gonna give, right? So, and you can see that under the gift, additional 131 covered. So the total gift, that what's actually going to come out of my bank account is $100 and $101.31. But if I chose not to cover those fees, then the tithe would absorb those fees. So the church would actually, you tithe $100, the church would get 98 and some change, 98 and 69 cents, out of every $100. So you could choose to cover the fees, or you could choose to not cover the fees. It's totally up to you, and however you would like to tithe, or you feel convicted to tithe. So that's how you would do. Once you press that, you would click the submit button, and I'm sorry, you would click the give button, at which point you would get a receipt to back to you on how much you tithe or chose to tithe at that time. Now, if you didn't have an account, in another video, I explained how to create an account. But if you did, like, so for instance, I do have an account with Tidely, so I go to my account and I can do all the information. But let's pretend that I didn't have an account. I would log out. When I went to the Tidely website, it would take me immediately to this page where I would create an account in which I would put in my first name, last name, email, and password, and create a password. That way, when I do tithe, it can send me an email confirming that I did tithe and sending me a receipt for that information. That way, if there's ever fraudulent activity, it can be tracked and it can be traced very, very, very easily. But Tidely does have some really great options when it comes to getting to that fraudulent activity, or not even fraudulent activity, maybe sometimes accidental reoccurring charge. For example, I meant to put in $100 once a month when I accidentally put $100 once a week. And so now when I meant to only tithe $100, the next week another $100 comes out, and I didn't that was a bill or something like that. I could actually use that receipt to retract that tithe. So it's a completely this is user friendly and very, very, very easy to use. So again, if you have any questions, feel free to email me when we on our church website. I will submit my email. That way you can check up with me if there's any questions on how to use Tidely.